back here at Hollywood Smoke in the city of Santa Monica. I'm Steve Kim, joined by Michael Montero and Doug Fischer. Welcome to 10 Count. And guys, on March 18th, before Golovkin and Danny Jacobs did battle the co-main, it was a stunning upset, at least on the record. We have a new WBC 115-pound title. Srisaket Sor Rungvisai defeats Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez in a very disputed decision. Doug, I was stunned by this decision. I watched it again over the weekend, and I'm even more stunned. Yeah. I really thought that Chocolatito came on in the 4th, 5th round. Watching it again, I thought he turned the tide in the 2nd. I thought he clearly landed the harder, more telling shots throughout the night. I'm stunned that he did not get his hands raised in victory.
I don't understand not scoring that fight for Chocolatito Gonzalez, because he is the easiest fighter in the world to score. You know what I'm saying? He's coming forward. He is the aggressor. He outworks his opponent. He outlands his opponent. He is accurate. He punches in combination. He's got angles in there. He's defensively competent. And he's punching hard.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. Listen, Sor Rungvisai, I knew he was going to bring his best. He was coming to kill or be killed. You were not going to stop this dude. I knew he could take a shot. I knew he could deliver a shot. He delivered. He was as good as I thought he was, because I'd seen his fight with Carlos Cuadras, and he gave Cuadras hell in Mexico City. And Cuadras was lucky. That fight was stopped after 8 rounds because of a clash of heads, and there was a cut. And Cuadras' people were smart. They pulled him out of there, and so Cuadras won a close 8-round technical decision. Cuadras never gave him a rematch, and I see why. Sor Rungvisai is a beast. He's a monster. I mean, and he lives or dies by that powerful left, and he landed it. But I think people, the judges mainly, they were looking at Chocolatito's face. They were looking at the swelling, they were looking at the blood, and they were looking at the fact that Sor Rungvisai, his face was not swollen. His face wasn't busted up. He's got good skin. Some guys can take a shot, and their skin is resilient, but that doesn't mean you're winning rounds. When you're being outworked, and this is most important, outlanded, and they're hard punches that snap your head back and cause you to stop punching and back you up for significant periods of time, you lost that round, even though you're competitive, even though you're landing hard shots. And Sor Rungvisai, he brought it. I gave him 4 rounds. I gave him 4 rounds at the fight. I gave him 4 rounds watching it again on HBO.
I think this is one of those fights you can score off of punch stats. I hate scoring fights off of punch stats. But if you look at the CompuBox numbers, there are 7 rounds where Chocolatito lands 2, if not 3 times as many punches as Rungvisai.
And he outworked him. Yeah, he outlanded him in 10 out of the 12.
Exactly.
And set a junior bantamweight record for punches landed.
Right off of punch numbers, you can score this fight. It's not that difficult. I thought I scored it 7 rounds to 5. Having watched it again, I could go as far as 8 rounds to 4. But I thought Chocolatito, if you know, of course, there was the knockdown in the 1st round, you take 1 point off. And then they took a point, I believe, in the 6th round for a clash of heads, which I don't think Rungvisai necessarily deserved. Either way, I thought Chocolatito won this fight by a couple points.
Yeah, sometimes judges score blood. They don't score the fight. And let's face it, Chocolatito was a crimson mask for at least half this fight.
It was.
We said after the Cuadras fight, and I remember being there at the Forum, 115 will be his threshold. That was his 4th world title in terms of weight divisions. You could tell. I think that the days of him blowing people out are over, because, Doug, it's clear at 115, he could bend guys. He can't break them anymore physically.
Yes, I think he's hit his ceiling physically speaking, and even though he's just 29 or 30 years old.
That's old
he's
for
got
that weight class.
It's old for somebody who turned pro as a straw weight. And we have to keep in mind that this guy won his first title at 105 pounds, and then at 108 pounds, and then at 112 pounds. And he was dominant. He wasn't just a busy combination punching, stalking technician. He was a knockout artist. At 115 pounds, he's not that, but he's still a workhorse. His prime was probably at 108 or 112 pounds. That's where he is at his peak as a fighter. Athletically speaking, he can't get heavier than 115 pounds, and he's pushing it. But it's not just because of his physical limitations, Steve. It's because the junior bantamweight division is very deep. It's very talented. It's very competitive. There's a bunch of guys in there. It doesn't matter who he fights. He could fight Estrada in a rematch. Juan Estrada will give him hell. He could fight Cuadras in a rematch. Cuadras will give him hell again. He could fight the monster, Naoya Inoue. Inoue might beat him. Inoue's sensational. He might. Inoue's huge, you know, and he's got the seasoning now. There are no easy, and if he fights Sor Rungvisai again, which he is lobbying for, and it wouldn't surprise me if the WBC mandated an immediate rematch. It's still going to be a tough, grueling fight.
You know, the WBC coming into March 18th said that the winner of Cuadras Carmona and the fight we're talking about now would basically be a Final Four of types, that the winners would have to meet. I'll just say this. We know the way boxing is. It can be very, very political. Stuff goes on. One boxing insider said, when Chocolatito said a little bit too loudly, no one's going to force me to fight anyone next. Sometimes you get a message pitch. Ooh. Sometimes you get a high, hard one.
Pacquiao Bradley?
At the end of the day, they knew that Srisaket, he would go by the WBC edict. And if Chocolatito said, you know what, I'm not. I'm just saying these little things do matter. And a boxing insider brought that up to me that I trust.
Yeah.
It gave me pause.
I hadn't thought about that.
Because I'm looking at that decision, I'm going, huh. Why? And here's another thing. I'm not big on pound for pound. I think I've called it before, excuse the language, mental masturbation. I think it's
That's
very
putting
flawed.
it nicely.
But fighters care about it. It's a great distinction to have.
And boxing nerds care about
and
it. Boxing Twitter cares about
Gonzalez,
it. Trust me.
To lose that perch, to lose that crown in this fashion, it's frustrating. And you're part of the Ring Magazine ratings committee.
I'm just one guy.
You're one guy.
It's the ratings panel.
It's not the Fischer fiefdom.
And it's the editorial board.
Yeah, it's not the Fischer fiefdom. But with that said,
I wish it was.
If 98% of the observers believe that Roman Gonzalez won that fight clearly, right, and you're vehement about it, why is he losing his place then? Why?
I'll tell you. Listen, if it was up to me, he remains #1. Because in my mind, he's 47-0, and he's still the WBC 115-pound title holder. And I look at his body of work, and I say, who else has done that?
Yeah.
Name another 4-division title holder on the pound for pound. If you have Pacquiao in there, okay, he's in there. I don't believe I don't believe we have Pacquiao in our top 10. So Roman Gonzalez is, I mean, he's arguably the most accomplished fighter right now, active fighter in the pound for pound. But some folks don't really count in the body of work. They don't factor in body of work as much as they do how good, how dominant a fighter is right now. And in their minds, Chocolatito had a shaky performance against Carlos Cuadras. I just think he took on a badass in his very first fight at junior bantamweight, and I give him credit for that, but they think of it differently. They think, like, okay, he's starting to show signs of age. He's falling off a little bit. Cuadras gave him hell, and they go back to his final fight at flyweight against McWilliams Arroyo, and they said, well, he didn't dominate that guy, and that was just a guy who was 16-2. I think, hey, McWilliams Arroyo can fight. He was a world amateur champion, you know what I mean? And he was a stylist, and he boxed a good fight, whatever. They think of it differently. They're thinking, no, there are guys right now who look really sensational. They need to move up, guys like Lomachenko, guys like Bud Crawford. And there are guys who are on the editorial board and the ratings panel who believe that they agree with the judges, the official judges, that Andre Ward defeated Sergey Kovalev. So they say, well, Ward beat somebody who was a top 5 pound for pound player. It's his turn now. He's 30-0, legitimately in their eye. I disagree with them, but that's how they rationalize it. And that's the thing about the pound for pound. There is no set criteria. It's all about what you like and what you favor. And if you're more of a what have you done for me lately guy, that factors in. If you're about body of work, that factors in.
Well, number one, you guys at Ring, your pound for pound list is a lot better than ESPN's, because I saw Teddy Atlas's list, and he doesn't even have Chocolatito on there or Gennady Golovkin. But I'm going to respectfully disagree with you, Doug. I think The number one spot for me, pound for pound, right now, and I'm with you guys. I hate these lists, but to me, it's vacant. I think that there's a few contenders.
That would have been a
there.
really good way to handle it.
And I think, and not because I think Chocolatito didn't win, not because I don't respect his body of work. I just think he's showing his age. I think several years ago, at any weight, he dominates Carlos Cuadras. He dominates Rungvisai. He's slipped a little bit in age, and he's faded. So that top spot's vacant. Maybe Vasyl Lomachenko takes it. Maybe Terrence Crawford takes it, or somebody else. But they haven't done enough yet.
Right.
So that spot's open for me.
Yeah. With Lomachenko and with Crawford, if you factor in body of work and quality of opposition, it's hard to put them ahead of an Andre Ward or Chocolatito
And
Gonzalez.
Lomachenko doesn't have 10 fights. We have to be honest. Now, quality over quantity. And listen, I'm a big Solito guy. I drive the bandwagon, even as an Asian driver. Asterisk. I'm sorry, that's like all the home run records of the late 90s. I don't even hold that.
Should be a no contest.
Right, but when you don't even have 10 fights and you're not all that active, Lomachenko, in terms of ceiling and ability and the eye test, he might be number one. But if you're, 6-7-1, I'm sorry, you shouldn't be number one quite yet.
That's the subjective quality of the pound-for-pound ratings, which makes it fun for boxing geeks because it's endless debate. If you like doing this stuff, if you're a mental masturbator, if that's your thing, pound for pound list, it's for you. That's what you want to do.
And by the way, if you have Ward number one, which is your prerogative, then Kovalev needs to be at least 1A. Because I think most people believed he won 7 to 8 rounds and scoring a knockdown.
I think that's what I think in the ring. It's now number 1 is Ward, number 2 is Kovalev, number 3 is Golovkin, number 4 is Gonzalez, and I think number 5 is Lomachenko.
For those of you who have Ward number 1, if you feel he beat Kovalev, fine. He barely beat Kovalev and was put down in that fight. That is one big win in 6 years for Andre Ward. Is that enough to put a guy number 1 pound for pound? Because what have you done for me lately?
If you want him to be pound for pound, if you've wanted him to be pound for pound since he came out of his hiatus, and there's a lot of folks out there who want it.
Or if you want to keep your access towards him.
Hashtag agenda. Boom, boom.
Anyway, that was a very controversial edition of 10 Count.
Oh, by the way, we got to get you on the ring ratings panel. You're a clear thinker. I like that. I will.
Get me on there.
You know
it's time.
I'm going to pull some strings.
You know
I
what?
want to talk to some people.
Doug, I'll vouch for you.
Doug. Get me on there.
All right, on behalf of Doug Fischer and Michael Montero, this is Steve Kim saying for the next 10 Count, goodbye, everybody.